Harvey Dent served as Gotham City's district attorney and built a reputation for defeating organized crime while maintaining a flawless public image that earned him the nickname Apollo. During a pivotal trial against crime leader Sal Maroni, Harvey used Maroni's own two-headed coin as evidence. In a sudden attack inside the courtroom, Maroni hurled acid at Harvey, burning the entire left side of his face and destroying skin, eyelid, and lip tissue. The severe disfigurement caused a mental collapse. Harvey developed a fixation on the concept of duality and created the criminal identity called Two-Face. He carried a silver dollar with two heads, defacing one side and using coin tosses to determine every major action. A scarred result directed him toward crime or violence, while an unscarred result sometimes led him to show restraint or act within the law. His earliest story depicted a bank robbery decided by a coin flip, followed by a secret donation of the stolen money to an orphanage when the coin's unmarked side prevailed. Later stories expanded Harvey's history, revealing an abusive father who forced him to endure coin flip punishments. This background explained the roots of his fractured identity. Subsequent retellings introduced further variations. One narrative described a failed suicide attempt that strengthened his two-face persona. The Big Burn arc revealed that he knew Bruce Wayne's identity as Batman and suffered the death of his wife Gilda as a key turning point. And the My Own Worst Enemy storyline followed Harvey's effort to seek a cure with Batman's help, only to have the Two-Face persona gain complete control. Harvey's transformation from dedicated prosecutor to master criminal illustrates a gradual collapse driven by physical trauma, childhood abuse, mental illness, and personal loss, all centered around the coin that dictates every decision he makes as Two-Face. Victor Zsasz first appeared in Batman Shadow of the Bat #1, with his early life explored further in Batman Chronicles #3. He was born into great wealth and built a thriving business empire before reaching adulthood. His parents died in a boating accident, a tragedy that drove him into a deep depression. Seeking distraction, Victor traveled the world for high-stakes gambling and lost most of his fortune. He eventually wagered the remainder of his wealth in a Gotham City casino and lost it to members of organized crime, including the criminal known as Penguin. Hopeless and convinced that life had no meaning, Victor went to Gotham Bridge intending to end his life. Before he could jump, a homeless man tried to rob him with a knife. Acting on impulse, Victor seized the blade and fatally stabbed the man. That moment convinced him that all people were empty and mechanical. To remember the killing, he carved a tally mark into his own flesh and decided to continue killing as a way to free others from what he viewed as pointless existence. He began to call his victims zombies and cut a new tally mark into his skin after each murder. Victor's crimes stand out for their theatrical presentation. He positions victims in lifelike poses and leaves bodies arranged in deliberate scenes. He uses knives with lethal skill and is trained in close combat, but has no superhuman abilities. Because his attacks have no clear motive or pattern, he remains difficult for Gotham's law enforcement to predict or capture. Batman first confronted Victor after a series of murders fit his signature pattern. Victor was committed to Arkham Asylum, but during a later renovation overseen by Jeremiah Arkham, he bribed a contractor to create a hidden exit from his cell. Using the passage, he secretly left the asylum at night to continue killing. When the murders resumed in Gotham, Batman and Commissioner James Gordon staged Batman's supposed mental breakdown so he could enter Arkham and investigate. Victor manipulated Jeremiah psychologically until the secret was revealed. He then murdered both the contractor and an inmate who knew of the tunnel. Batman and his ally Nightwing eventually stopped him and returned him to confinement. Victor escaped during major Gotham crises, such as the Nightfall storyline, where he murdered police officers and battled Batman, and during No Man's Land, when he allied with local gangs and proved deadly even while restrained, using only his fingernails to attack. In modern continuity, including the Rebirth era, he continues to appear in murder investigations, sometimes fighting Nightwing or briefly joining villain groups. In certain accounts, Victor also carves marks into his victims' bodies as a symbolic bond created through his knife. Jason Todd first appeared in Batman #357 and has undergone several distinct origin accounts. In his earliest depiction, he was a circus performer whose parents were killed by criminals, after which he was adopted and trained as a partner to the Gotham City vigilante Batman. Following a continuity reboot, his background was reimagined. He grew up as a street orphan in Gotham, caring for a mother struggling with drug addiction and surviving by stealing car parts. During this version of his history, he first met Batman while attempting to take the tires from the Batmobile. Impressed by the boy's audacity and potential, Batman arranged for him to enter a school for troubled youth. Jason soon exposed and defeated a criminal organization that disguised itself as a charity, proving his determination and earning the opportunity to train as the new Robin. As Robin, Jason displayed courage and skill, but often acted with a volatile temper and a willingness to cross boundaries that set him apart from his predecessor. His most defining moment came in the storyline A Death in the Family. In this arc, the Joker captured Jason, savagely beat him with a crowbar, and left him in a warehouse that exploded. Jason died from the attack, an event that deeply affected Batman and influenced many later stories. Years later, Jason returned in Batman Annual number 25 and related issues, his body revived by a Lazarus pit, a mystical pool known for its regenerative powers. The resurrection left him mentally unstable and consumed with anger, believing Batman had failed to avenge his death. Adopting the name Red Hood, a title previously used by criminals, Jason embraced a far more lethal approach to fighting crime. This brought him into direct conflict with Batman, as he operated on the edge between vigilante and anti-hero. Under the Red Hood identity, Jason sometimes worked alone, and at other times formed alliances, notably leading the group Red Hood and the Outlaws alongside allies such as the expert marksman Arsenal and the extraterrestrial warrior Starfire. In the 2011 Red Hood and the Outlaws series, his history and methods were refined to show a tactically skilled but morally ambiguous fighter who combined advanced weaponry with rigorous hand-to-hand combat training. Rachel Roth first appeared in DC Comics Presents number 26 as the mystical hero known as Raven. She is the daughter of the human woman Angela Roth, also called Arella, and the powerful demon Trigon. Angela became involved with a cult that worshipped Trigon, and through their ritual summoning, he appeared in human form and seduced her, resulting in Rachel's conception. After learning the truth, Angela fled to the interdimensional sanctuary of Azarath, a peaceful realm ruled by monks devoted to spiritual discipline and emotional control. Guided by the spiritual leader Azar, Rachel grew up in Azarath under strict teachings that required her to suppress emotions to keep her demonic powers contained. Through intense meditation and mystical instruction, she developed abilities that included teleportation, telepathy, and profound empathy. As Rachel matured, she began to experience prophetic visions, warning that Trigon planned to invade Earth and claim her as a gateway for his conquest. Determined to stop him, she left Azarath during her adolescence and traveled to Earth. In Jump City, she intervened during an alien attack, using reason and diplomacy to prevent conflict. Her actions impressed a group of young heroes, and together they formed the first version of the Teen Titans. Trigon's influence eventually reached Azarath itself, leading to the realm's destruction and the deaths of many of Rachel's mentors. In the climactic battle that followed, she was briefly consumed by her father's corruption. The souls of the fallen monks merged with her essence, enabling her to channel their power and defeat Trigon. After this confrontation, she was reborn free from his control and resumed her place with the Teen Titans. Later reimaginings, including the New 52 continuity, introduced variations on her history. These versions emphasize her inner conflict, her capture by Trigon's spiritual forces, and her eventual rise as a ruler in demonic realms, while preserving the central theme of her struggle between light and darkness. Rachel's abilities include empathic sensing, teleportation, the projection of a shadowy psychic form called the Soul Self, telekinesis, healing, and a wide range of magic linked to her demonic heritage. Her life remains defined by the ongoing challenge of balancing the compassion inherited from her mother with the immense and dangerous power of her father. Teth Adam first appeared in the Marvel Family #1 in 1945 as a corrupted champion empowered by the wizard Shazam. Later stories expanded his background, describing his birth in ancient Egypt around 1279 BCE as a son of Pharaoh Ramesses II. Known for courage and selflessness, he drew the wizard's attention and was chosen to receive divine power by uttering the word Shazam, which granted the stamina of Shu, the swiftness of Heru, the strength of Amun, the wisdom of Zehuti, the power of Aton, and the courage of Mehen. Over time, Teth Adam fell under the influence of Blaze, the wizard's daughter, who manipulated him into seizing Egypt's throne. He killed the reigning pharaoh and ruled with violence. In response, the wizard stripped him of his magic, sealed it inside a mystical scarab, and entombed him in Ramesses' burial chamber, where his mortal body rapidly decayed. Centuries later, an archaeologist named Theo Adam uncovered the scarab. After murdering those who discovered it with him, Theo invoked the word Shazam, releasing the trapped power and transforming himself into Black Adam, the dark counterpart to the hero Shazam. Modern continuity offers additional details. In the Prime Earth version, Teth Adam was born into the Kandaki people and endured slavery after his father's death. He and his young nephew Amun escaped captivity and reached the Rock of Eternity, where the wizard recognized Amun's worthiness. Amun asked that Teth be healed, and together they were given the magic word Shazam. Teth ultimately betrayed this trust, using the power to pursue vengeance, which led the wizard to imprison him. Black Adam's abilities include immense strength, superhuman speed, flight, magical manipulation, energy projection, heightened durability, and near limitless stamina. In more recent interpretations, the loss of his son deepens his transformation, framing his later actions as the result of grief and rage. Across every version, Teth Adam remains a figure defined by immense power, tragic loss, and a relentless drive to impose his own sense of justice. Bane first appeared in Batman Vengeance of Bane #1. He was born inside the Peñaduro prison on the Caribbean island of Santa Prisca, condemned from birth to serve the life sentence of his father, Edmund Dorrance, a revolutionary known as King Snake. His mother died when he was still a child, leaving him to survive alone within the violent prison. Bane grew up amid constant brutality and dedicated himself to strengthening both mind and body. He read every book he could obtain, studied numerous disciplines, and practiced relentless physical training. At only 8 years old, he killed a fellow inmate who threatened him, an act that marked the beginning of his lethal reputation. Recognizing his exceptional endurance, prison officials forced him into experiments with a potent super steroid called Venom. The drug dramatically increased his strength, speed, and resilience, but created a dependence that required regular injections to prevent dangerous withdrawal. Empowered by Venom, Bane escaped Peñaduro with trusted allies often identified as Trog, Zombie, and Bird. He set his sights on Gotham City, seeing parallels between its criminal chaos and the oppression of his prison life. In Gotham, he executed a calculated plan to break Batman both mentally and physically. Bane triggered mass escapes from Arkham Asylum and Blackgate Penitentiary to exhaust Batman, then ambushed him in the Batcave and fractured his spine, briefly claiming dominance over the city's underworld. In later stories, Bane struggles to overcome his reliance on Venom and investigates his family's history, including the legacy of Edmund Dorrance. He continues to balance immense physical power with exceptional strategic intelligence. His abilities include superhuman strength, enhanced durability, rapid reflexes, and advanced combat tactics, all of which make him one of Batman's most formidable adversaries. Swamp Thing first appeared as a mysterious swamp creature connected to a man named Alex Olson. The more familiar version, Dr. Alec Holland, debuted in Swamp Thing #1. Alec and his wife, Linda, were scientists working deep in the Louisiana bayou on a groundbreaking bio-restorative formula, a compound meant to make plants thrive in any environment. Criminal agents linked to the sorcerer Anton Arcane attacked their secluded lab, planted explosives, and attempted to steal the formula. The bomb detonated, dousing Alec in his own experimental chemicals and hurling him aflame into the swamp. Alec's human body perished in the explosion, but the swamp absorbed the chemical and biological residue. From that fusion of plant matter and Alec's lingering consciousness, a new plant-based entity emerged. Believing itself to be Alec Holland, this creature, soon known as Swamp Thing, at first sought to reclaim a lost human existence. In the Dark Genesis story, he tried to protect Linda from the criminals Ferret and Bruno, but they murdered her, driving the creature to avenge her death. Arcane, fascinated by this new being, watched from afar, scheming to control it. Years later, Alan Moore's saga of the Swamp Thing revealed a startling truth. The creature was never Alec resurrected. Instead, it was a plant elemental that absorbed Alec's memories and personality, but remained entirely vegetal. Swamp Thing became connected to the Parliament of Trees, a mystical network of earth elementals safeguarding all plant life, known collectively as the Green. Throughout his stories, Swamp Thing grapples with the tension between human identity and elemental destiny, defending ecological balance and confronting supernatural threats such as the life-decaying force called the Rot. Barbara Gordon first appeared as Batgirl in Detective Comics #359 as the daughter, sometimes portrayed as the niece or adopted daughter, of Gotham City Police Commissioner James Gordon. In the Silver Age stories, Barbara dons a bat-themed costume for a masquerade party and happens to foil a kidnapping attempt on Bruce Wayne by Killer Moth. That spontaneous heroics earn Batman's respect and launch her career as Batgirl. Later continuities expand her backstory. Barbara is portrayed as a gifted prodigy who skips grades, trains in martial arts, and memorizes Gotham's infrastructure. Determined to fight crime, she becomes Batgirl despite Batman's initial reluctance to accept a partner. Her life changes dramatically in Batman: The Killing Joke. The Joker ambushes Barbara in her civilian home, shoots her through the spine, and leaves her permanently paralyzed from the waist down in most continuities. This brutal assault ends her days as a street-level vigilante. Refusing to be sidelined, Barbara reinvents herself as Oracle. Using her exceptional intellect, photographic memory, and computer expertise, she serves as an indispensable information broker and strategist for heroes across the DC universe, most notably leading and coordinating the Birds of Prey. The New 52 reboot introduced an experimental surgery that restores Barbara's mobility, allowing her to resume the Batgirl identity. Even after regaining her ability to fight in the field, she continues to carry the psychological scars of the Joker's attack and integrates her Oracle skills into her crime-fighting life. In DC Rebirth and later stories, Barbara balances both legacies, Batgirl and Oracle, remaining a central figure in Gotham's hero community. Barbara's journey from bright young vigilante to traumatized survivor and then to master strategist highlights her resilience, making her one of DC's most complex and inspiring characters. Cassandra Cain first appeared as the daughter of David Cain, a world-class assassin, and Sandra Wu-san, also known as Lady Shiva, one of the deadliest martial artists in the DC universe. From birth, Cassandra was subjected to extreme conditioning. Her father deliberately raised her in near-total isolation, denying her language and normal social interaction. Instead, she was trained to read and interpret body movements, making her a living weapon capable of predicting and reacting to opponents' actions with extraordinary precision. As part of her training, Cassandra was forced to commit murder at a very young age, leaving her psychologically scarred. Overwhelmed by the trauma and moral weight of her early actions, she eventually fled from her father and sought refuge with the Batman family in Gotham City. Cassandra has struggled throughout her life to reconcile the violence ingrained in her with a desire to protect rather than harm. She has assumed multiple identities, including Batgirl and Black Bat, and has served as a member of the Bat family, assisting other heroes and working to prevent the kind of suffering she endured. Her story highlights the tension between inherited violence and chosen morality, portraying her journey from a weaponized child to a hero striving for redemption and self-definition. Bizarro first appeared as a flawed duplicate of Superman, created through a laboratory accident involving a duplicating ray. Unlike Superman, Bizarro's physical features were distorted and his behavior erratic, causing society to reject him. Despite his grotesque appearance, he attempted to act heroically, though his lack of understanding and control over his powers often resulted in unintended harm. Later, Lex Luthor deliberately used a duplicating ray to create an adult Bizarro as a weapon against Superman. This version possessed Superman's abilities, such as super strength, flight, and heat vision, but lacked his intelligence and moral judgment. After repeated failures and rejection, Bizarro withdrew to the planet Hashtre, a world inhabited by other imperfect duplicates of Superman and Lois Lane, where he attempted to establish a community. Over time, Bizarro's stories explored themes of identity, isolation, and the longing for acceptance. As a mirror of Superman, he embodies both immense power and the consequences of imperfection, reflecting a tragic struggle between the desire to do good and the limitations imposed by his flawed nature.